Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Before we get into the nitty-gritty, there's one thing that I want to bring to your attention. And you guys know that I'm on Twitter or X, whatever, QYZ, right? And there's something that I've been noticing, okay, and it's this theme, okay, and there's these posts that are made by Elon, and it's called the Hammer of Justice. And he always posts these things called the Hammer of Justice is coming to the people who did so many illegal and unconstitutional things over the last 4 to 8 years. And just a few days ago, he directly posted that message as a reply to Adam Schiff. And this was also posted towards Fauci as well. And if you remember, now here comes code. If you remember pizza slices gates opening, okay, thumbs up if you understand. When referring to John Podesta's friend, Slade Somer, when he was arrested for diddling, yes, thumbs up. Okay, well, it was posted again in a standalone post specifically highlighting justice coming for those who pushed foreign interference hoaxes. Okay, so if I know you guys like to put pieces together and connect the dots just like I do, okay? So I've been I should have one of those cork boards behind me with the the string attached to the push pins and stuff like that because that's that's literally what I do when I'm trying to get information together and when I'm researching because that's how serious I get when I do my research. But it's literally like everything that he posts or everything that anybody posts, it's literally, oh, there's another okay, oh, there's another push pin, oh, okay, that goes to, oh, okay, that goes to there. I mean, it's just so strange. I literally get so interweaved with this stuff, it's insane. But here are some videos that also explain a lot of what is also going on. So put these in your pocket, okay, and save them for later. All right.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and it's what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
We're doing the same.
and so it's just you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities. We're going to have to force change.
And then all of a sudden DPS shows up, and then your
Yep.
son is gone.
Yeah. They closed my case, and then a few days later, I get knocks on my door.
And so if Helene wasn't bad enough,
Yeah.
they got to hit you when you're already vulnerable and
They
on the
know
edge.
that I'm here by myself doing what I can myself for two other human beings. He's in foster care an hour, at least an estimated an hour and 45 minutes away.
And right before I pulled in here, you just got a piece of mail.
I did.
And the gist of that document basically says that the judge just has decided it's in the best interest of Benji to stay in the state's custody until December 3rd, where you're going to
Minimum.
minimum, where you're going to have a preliminary hearing.
Correct.
Now, at the first preliminary hearing, you were not accompanied by an attorney.
No.
You were alone.
I was alone.
And did you ask for an attorney?
I did.
And you were denied.
I filled out the paperwork. It was given back to the judge, and the judge, or the circuit, or the clerk's office, 2 days later, called me back and said that the Judge Bowers, denied my request.
And that's because they counted the Social Security your son receives
that follows my son
as income for you, which then disqualified your ability to retain state-appointed defense. And the craziest part is you're not receiving those funds. Protective Services is.
They go to the foster family, plus I have to pay child support on top, plus I have to have a place for him to live, plus I have to have transportation to visit him 4 months consecutively, or I lose my parental rights.
So the income that you would have been using to create a rehabilitated home from this situation is now taken
To the foster
away.
parent.
So they moved him 2 hours away.
Yes.
Knowing that you have car troubles, knowing that you don't have the money for a lawyer, they won't give you a lawyer, and they want you, when you're taking care of your mother, to now stop everything you're doing, get a full-time job, and then somehow be able to take care of your mother and drive 2 hours
Go
for
to parenting
visitation.
classes and do this and do that.
Do you think it's possible to do all the programs they want you to do and take care of your mother and go get a full-time job and be able to maintain that job?
If it's doable, it'll be probably the hardest thing I ever do in my life, with having to take care of mom and still take care of myself so that I'm good. That's
Do you think they really are understanding the situation that they're putting you in
No.
as a mom?
they don't give a shit. They don't care.
And
It's what they want.
you've had clean drug tests, and
I
they
have.
they want more and more and more. It seems like when they make one line and they say, hey, come to this line and we'll give you your son
You
back,
gotta step to this one,
and then the next one,
and then you gotta take 20 more steps. Here's your new one.
it's never good enough, is it?
It's gonna go past.
It's going to go past that Dodge Ram up there
It's gonna
pretty
go
soon.
past that. You know,
We're on the other side of the mountain.
it's gonna go down to the state line. It will.
And then by then, you know what they do? They've alienated you so far and drugging you through the mud so far that now they say, well, you have no established ties. And constitutionally, we have no obligation to reunite families with no established ties.
When you're singled out, you're alone, you're alienated. Who in their right mind would allow a child to go back to somebody like that? But they've designed it that way.
It feels like a boot on the back of your neck, doesn't it?
On the back of your neck, in your nose, in your jaw, in your chest, in your
And does that make it hard to do the right thing every day? Does it make it more difficult for you to do the right things for yourself and as a mother and for everyone that needs you? Does it make it any easier or harder on you, all this pressure and weight that they put on you?
pressure and the weight make you want to crumble. I mean, for 8 years now, that's all I've had to be is strong. And I crumbled one time, once,
After a horrible disaster.
after a disaster. And they're making me pay for that now. And I understand I'm human. I will make mistakes. I did make mistakes. I don't believe I need to pay to this degree. Period. End of
No.
story. You don't need to traumatize my son more, who's already been through enough. Because of his birthday, he should be in the 1st grade, because wherever his birthday falls. They did bump him up to 2nd grade, because he's amazing, genius level.
He is.
I mean, he's amazing.
He sounds amazing.
They wouldn't let him take any of his toys, anything. They let him take one stuffed animal, one. That was it. He couldn't take his Legos. He couldn't take any of the food he likes to eat. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, was put him in that truck.
What do you think he was feeling in that moment? I know these are hard questions.
You could tell he wanted to just crawl right out of that truck, right back into my arms. He just kept pleading with me, please, Mama. Please, Mama, I don't want to. Please come with me.
The Rothschilds come from the Orsini family. Roth means red in German, and the Orsini means red bear, little red bears. That's what Orsini means. The Grey Pope is Pepe Orsini. He trumps the black, he trumps the white Pope.
The Grey Pope is
Grey
even
Pope.
higher than the Black and the White Pope.
The Orsini is the Maxima family. They are the maximum family. They are on top. And somehow they've trumped the Colonna and the Farnese, which I know without any doubt through all my studies that they are the three most powerful Illuminati.
What about Rothschild and Rockefeller?
Well, they are Orsini. They just changed their name. Rockefeller were Rothschilds. Rothschilds were Orsini. Orsini were a family which have their lines in Babylon and Egypt. They tell you that. You read their biographies. They'll tell you that. We go back to Nimrod. They tell you that. The Rothschilds say that. We go back to Nimrod. How? Through the Orsini. So Rockefeller, Rothschild, Orsini, and then you go back to the Persian and Egyptian dynasties.
Allodium title, why is it so important?
Allodium title is important because you do not own the land. They tell you it's freehold, but it's not freehold. The land is owned by the crown. All the land is owned by the crown.
I'm a farmer in Minnesota, and you're saying that my land is owned by the Queen.
Yes.
I'm a farmer in Mozambique.
Your land is owned by the Queen.
The Queen of England.
The Queen of England. She owns all the land. What happens is, you own that piece of brick that's sitting on it, that they call freehold or your house. You own that. You don't own the land. Allodium title is to own your land. So you can put a sign up and says, no trespassing, private property. When you put that sign up, you have to own the land. Because owning the house doesn't mean anything. It's the land they want. And you don't own anything.
Ever.
Ever. You are just a mere user. Once people get to know the law, what they're under, and what they're doing to them, and how they're making... You see, they make things to distract you, like the news and all this fake, all this stuff, television, and this is what they do. So once people can get together, it's very simple if people get to understand what's going on. And it would be good for them to know, because we need to stop this. We need to stop what they're doing to people, hurting people for no reason, put people in poverty.
And by they, we're talking about the parent corporation.
The parent corporation. Yeah, they're in bed together, everybody. They said, if they send you to the Citizens Advice Bureau, don't even bother to go, because they're working too with them. Everybody they have in their pocket. And it's very sad, because people will do things to other people for very little money.
Are you hopeful for humanity?
I am, very much so.
He was being tried for 4 counts of not filing his income tax.
Okay.
And our question was, well, what is to decide? Either he did or he didn't. It never occurred to us that he might actually be innocent while at the same time not filing. In the federal government, it is not a felony not to file taxes. Finally, they said, okay, if we're going to get this guy, we're going to have to put it in the state. They called up the IRS agent, Agent Craner.
Craner? Yeah. Robert Craner. Mm-hmm. This is Ken Doherty, who's also an investigator with the Illinois Department of Revenue.
There's a request for a copy of the delegation of authority order.
Right, and I talked to my boss about that, and he said that my badge is that.
Badge is the authority. I thought it had to be in writing.
The last question that the defense asked him was, did you write any of this down? And Agent Craner looked right at him and right at us, and he said, I never wrote anything down. And yet when we saw the video, there he was, writing notes, And so I'm thinking, okay, at this point, the judge is supposed to say, Agent Craner, it is clear that you have committed perjury. It wasn't even noticed. It finally came to the climax. Mr. Harrell looked right at the prosecutor, and he said, I will tell you the same thing I have told over and over again to government officials. You show me the law that requires me to file a tax return, and I'll be glad to do it.
And again, I ask, under what is the requirement that you claim and are required to do these things. And the requirement under the regulations is what section? My question to you is, what particular act are we discussing here that I am liable to do these things that you claim I'm liable to do?
Your exact question would be again? Okay, what is the section that what? But I guess I'm still not understanding your question, Mr. Harrell.
Well, you must be familiar with what that you have the police powers to enforce.
Yes.
The prosecutor absolutely ignored him. And he started slandering Mr. Harrell. Just started attacking his character.
They're calling us tax cheats, they're calling us fanatics, they're calling us weirdos. I don't care what you call me, but I have one question. Where is the law? Show me the law.
They can't let this turn into a rational debate, because if they do, they lose it. So they have to insult people and say it's frivolous.
We felt like that there was an overall arrogance and that they were railroading Mr. Harrell and wanting us to participate. Judge Coogan, he looked right at us and he said, I will instruct the jury according to the law. We were sent to deliberation. The judge promised us that he would give us the law. And we looked and we looked and it was not there. We wrote a note to the judge asking for a copy of the law. 10 minutes later, we get a note back. You have everything you need. But there was no law. And he had promised us. At that point, I felt betrayed. I felt like this man promised us the law, and that's what this whole thing is about, the law. We request it, and he still denies us the law.
And the reason they didn't do it was why?
Because there is no law. Remember, we're talking about the Illinois state law here, okay, which is a law in Illinois. So we got out that law, and we read it several times, and I said, okay, wait, because they kept saying, but this is a law in Illinois. And I said, look at the beginning of it. It says, anyone required to file a federal income tax return is required to file an Illinois tax return. I said, if it is true that he's not required to file a federal return, then that nullifies the Illinois law. Two people, they kept saying, but he's going to get by with it. And I said, what is he getting by with but his rights? If there is no law, he's not breaking a law. He's just standing on his rights. Are we going to deny him that? That's when this one juror sat back and kind of rolled his eyes and he said, you mean we don't have to pay taxes? All of a sudden we realized that this trial was much bigger. And the ramifications of this trial were going to be so broad if it actually got out. I mean, it's like we had just discovered this great government secret. And so when we came out for the delivering of the verdict, the judge was, I'm sure, even at this point, I'm sure he still thought we would give a guilty verdict. And the reason I say that is because of the look on his face when the first not guilty was read. His face just turned white. I mean, it's like, I don't believe this. The second time, you could hear people out in the audience, just in the courtroom, just going, wow, and the judge is just getting red in the face. I mean, he was just livid. And the judge got up and left. I sat there and I thought, this truly is a victory for the people. And I have never felt more patriotic. And I knew that we had done the right thing. I looked at that man, Mr. Harrell, and I thought, the system might not work all the time. But this time, for that man, it did.
In November 2004, The government arrested former IRS criminal investigator Joe Bannister. They charged him with fraud for telling the American people the truth about the income tax laws. The jury obviously agreed with Joe.
Well, it just showed Mr. Bannister to be honest and straightforward and working within the law.
Vernice Kuglin, a Federal Express pilot, claimed there was no law requiring Americans to file an income tax. She also won in court. 24 people were criminally charged by the IRS because they claimed there was no law requiring them to file an income tax return.
The fact is, neither the judge nor the prosecutor nor the IRS could bring that statute in there because it's not in the books. The jury came back with an acquittal for everyone.